Representatives at plenary on Tuesday, the 7th of July, 2020, deliberated on a motion of urgent public importance titled The Arbitrary Breach of Presidential Directives on the suspension of top management and executive members of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, the NSITF, and other government agencies by ministers, and the House resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate 1. The procedural breaches of the presidential directives by both the Ministers of Labor and Employment and the Minister of Power. 2. Investigate the alleged breach in procurement procedures and financial malpractices and malfeasance by those agencies and report back to the House within 1 week. Pursuant to this, the ad hoc committee commenced an investigative hearing on the matter yesterday, the 20th of July, 2020, in spite of the fact that the Honorable Minister was absent owing to ill health. I'm however pleased that today the Honorable Minister of Labor and Employment has joined us, and this is indeed highly remarkable and commendable. You're welcome, Honorable Minister. We also have in our attendance the Minister of Power, members of the NSITF, the Acting Managing Director of the Fund, the Chairman of the Board of NSITF, representatives of the Head of Service, and officials of the Bureau of Public Procurement. The suspended top management officials and executive committee members of NSITF, under oath, denied any act of wrongdoing, nor any query or any act of discipline whatsoever in the past. They also denied knowledge of any petition bordering on infractions of public procurement acts and financial regulations ever communicated to them prior to their suspension. Rather, they gave evidences in their oral presentation to the effect that they were ill-treated, and they also alleged a complete hijack or attempted hijack of the management function by the Honorable Minister of Labor and Employment. The Chairman of the Board of NSITF, under oath, informed the committee that he became aware of the suspension of the top management of the NSITF via news media while he was in Lagos. He also admitted, after tendering copies of minutes of meeting of the board held so far, wherein no petition against the suspended top management was discussed, that the action of the Honorable Minister, it was some of the top management executives taken yesterday complained bitterly that the actions of the minister was not in consonance with the circular issued by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. This point was made chiefly by the MD of the fund, the suspended MD, Barrister Somefu. The circular being referred to was that issued by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, titled Approved Disciplinary Procedure Against Chief Executive Officers of Federal Government Parastatals, Agencies, and Departments. The circular was dated 19th May 2020. And one of the reasons we have invited the Office of the Secretary to Government of the Federation as a follow-up to this is to put life to that document and to adopt and clarify if that document actually emanated from their office, so that we can move on with other issues connected thereto. Officials of the Bureau of Public Procurement, which was represented by Mr. Ngige, informed the committee of the circumstances under which one Mrs. Joyce the head of procurement in the fund was redeployed. He also informed the committee of an attempt by BPP to carry out a procurement audit at the instance of the Honorable Minister of Labour, only to be denied access to procurement documents by the same officials of NSITF. He, however, informed the committee that there is no evidence to suggest that an infraction of public procurement or financial regulation by the suspended management of NSITF has occurred, at least until when a procurement audit is carried out, which is still in the process. The ad hoc committee is also looking at the Honorable Minister of Power, who was alleged for personal interest or for some other reasons to have unlawfully carried out similar disciplinary actions against the chief executives of NBET, Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading, and Transmission Company of Nigeria, the TCN, respectively. I wish to once again remind you all that the ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives, this one in particular, shall remain unbiased in these matters, and we wish to extend to the parties the benefits of the principle of fair hearing, and to assure us that any information coming to the knowledge of this committee which requires confidentiality would be treated in utmost standard as it requires. The office of the head of service was also represented by the permanent secretary, who made presentations to the committee as regards a presentation by a complaint, by a petition which a member of the committee read out, bordering on nomination of an insurance company to the Ministry of Labour. She responded that she acted in her capacity as the permanent secretary, and the letter which she issued out was done to every other agency of government, requiring it, not just NSITF. It was pointed out during during the oral evidence and interview time by the acting managing director and the suspended managing director that NSITF ordinarily shouldn't be issued such a letter since the fund was not treasury funded. The representative of the head of service, however, stated that she only wrote in her capacity as the permanent secretary, that it was the duty of the permanent secretary Labour to ascertain which agencies of the ministry were treasury or non-treasury funded, requiring the letter. We also took representatives of a certain civil society organization, and we collected their presentation, their paper presentation, and as well as entertained their oral presentation. They were merely talking about the need to ensure that the Constitution is being followed, and that all forms of corruption in any shade should not be condoned. A few other salient issues also came up in the review of yesterday hearing, and all of them are being collated and will form part of our report. In the course of interfacing with the Bureau of Public Procurement, the committee requested that he brings today the immediate past procurement officer at the fund. That's the person of Engineer Lawal, right?
Mr. Chair, I'm delighted to be here. And I'm more delighted by the fact that I made it physically in this era of COVID-19 and the protocols attendant thereto. I had communicated you much earlier last week that for medical reasons, I will not be able to come on Monday. And that even on Tuesday, I'm just doing a follow-up to my Monday hospital visits, which I had done, but I had to cut it short. My doctor and I agreed that we do what we can today, and on Thursday I'll come back and finish. This is because of the respect I have for this committee and the National Assembly as a whole, because like, I don't know whether it's a deputy, your right-hand man. I've said, I'm at home. It's home coming for me anytime I'm here. Having said so, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, I have 2 requests to make. They are serious requests, but I need to be obliged with these requests. First and foremost, on medical grounds, we are the vulnerable group for COVID by my age. And I expect that I'll be finished with very quickly. I've looked around. The protocols here are not wonderful. So I need to exit here as soon as I can, in my own interest and your own interest too. That's my number 1 request. My second request is not unusual. When the motion was moved on this matter, a certain friend of mine, Honorable Faleke, spoke on this motion because the motion tabled under matters of urgent national importance. So rules are waived. If it's in the Senate section 43, order 43. And he spoke. The mover of the motion brought the motion in a way it should be done. My colleague and brother in the National Assembly, Honorable Faleke, did not speak onto that motion in the way of parliamentary processes. Privileges were abused because accusations were hurled on me. I was judged. My wife was judged. That is unparliamentary. I am therefore seeking you your protection.
Honourable Minister.
Just hold on, let me finish.
Do you have a copy of the motion?
Yes.
Because you are a parliamentarian.
I do.
Because you are talking about the procedure.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the motion of the House and the resolution of the House?
I have the answer.
Can you kindly speak on the resolution of the House? Leave any other matter that has been discussed on the floor if it has not been captured.
Just let me land. Honorable.
I do not want you to open wounds.
No, Honorable, it's not open
Let us talk about the motion. Let us talk about
Honorable, I want Honorable Faleke to recuse himself. That's where I'm going. He has to recuse himself because he has judged me ahead. He has judged me ahead of hearing from me. He has damaged my reputation. Legislative immunity, it has a boundary. I know where it ends. And my right starts from there. You can't, under the legis of legislative immunity, parliamentary immunity, which I know is for subject matter for making of laws, good laws, and then you character assassinate somebody. If you do it to me, I have a right to ask you. I won't get fair hearing from you. If a judge enters into the ring and fights, litigants can say, recuse yourself, Your Lordship. I'm saying this is left to you people, it's left to Faleke himself. If he wants to recuse, fine. If he doesn't want to, he can stay. But if he stays, it's injurious to the work of this committee.
A point of order, please. Mr. Chairman, sir, honorable colleagues. Honorable Minister, I I want to observe, sir, that you are a senior citizen and you are being a part of this institution very well. Like Honorable Sadasoli actually said, the subject matter of our being here today is restricted to the resolution of the House of Representatives. And in any case, Honorable James Faleke is not the chairman of this committee. This is a committee of 16 honorable members, Honorable Minister. And I believe that you know that the 16 of us are honorable men indeed who have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I don't really think we should make an issue out of whatever transpired on the floor of the House while considering this motion. I want to plead with you, Honorable Minister, to please let us have this session, like you have said, so that we can excuse you. Just go to the fact of the matter as stated. We have 16 honorable members here, and we have sworn to do justice and truth and nothing but the truth.
I know you are a veteran person. You are a governor. You are a senator. The fact is, in an investigative hearing or when you appear before the parliament, you are at liberty to decline to answer a question or not to respond to a question. That is your personal liberty and personal privilege. But what we are saying here, I appreciate your concern. Like you rightly say, the parliamentary privileges. He has exercised those privileges, but the parliament recognized what it should ask on the issues that were brought on the floor on that day. That's why the votes and proceedings did not carry Faleke's accusation or allegation or whatever he said against you or against your wife on the body of the investigative resolution. And this committee will restrict itself on the resolution of the House. What you have between you and your friend, I believe it is something that it can be sorted out. So I just appeal to you. I know you have your personal feelings on some of these things, yes, but let's just get to the matter and deal with it. But we have taken note of your concerns. We have taken note of your concerns.
Federal Republic of Nigeria, we appreciate your presence here today. And like my colleagues have said, we appreciate your concern. But at the same time, I'm sure your team would have told you yesterday that this gentleman and lady that you see on this side of the table, the questions that were asked yesterday, we are not targeting any individual. And I assure you that up to this moment, we had a very balanced session yesterday. There are those people that were attacking from all sides. And in an investigation like this, definitely we cannot be on the same page, the 16 of us. So we are assuring you that this hallowed committee and the members of this committee will be fair to every person seated here. Because those that have been accused and those that are, been the victims of whatever has happened, all of them were attacked yesterday at various points of time. So, Honorable Minister, distinguished Senator, please would urge you, and we're pleading with you to just stick to the subject matter so that we quickly leave this place. I know you and Faleke are the oldest people here. You are prone to COVID-19. So let us quickly leave this place and we do this. Thank you very much.
My chairman, honorable colleagues, thanks for your observation. You will understand, honorable minister, that we are representatives of the people. And as representatives of the people, we have rights to ask questions, and you also have the right as a Nigerian to respond to those questions. Before now, you are on this side of the aisle. Today, you are on the other side of the aisle. And let me also say, honorable minister, if you say I made judgments before, using my privilege, Mr. Minister, you also use your privilege as a minister to adjudge the suspended members of NSITF as being guilty. And that is the essence of this investigation.
Mr. Chairman.
Honourable Minister, we are here to look at the facts, and the facts is before us. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chair, fine. It means I have another alternative. You will meet me in court after this place.
Honorable
You have damaged my reputation.
Honorable colleagues.
Because you have legislative immunity, you damage my reputation.
Honorable colleagues.
No, I will not allow you.
Honorable Chair. But I'm presiding.
Boy. Can't do
Please,
it.
can we have some order here? I'm presiding. Please, can we just be calm? Please, I'd like to use this opportunity to appeal to my colleagues. I am one of the core advocates of a new normal. We have to change the narratives. As the chairman of the board of NSITF started yesterday, I gladly align myself with that. We don't want an atmosphere of rancor. We will not be able to achieve the desired result. We are here to put justice to the key issues before us. Please, I'd like us to put our personal and emotional sentiments behind so that we can put these issues of national importance, people's livelihoods and employment future is put on the line. There are allegations of corruption and gross misconduct, breach in procurement, which are very weighty. I'd like us to not use mere representations and sentiments to becloud our emotions in discharging these duties. Please, I would crave your indulgence, honorable colleagues, to give me your protection, to serve honorably as the chair of this committee, because I will be free and fair and impartial. I'd like to give everyone the protection they deserve, especially those we have invited. Oftentimes, people are invited to the house and they decline to come for fear of being unduly attacked. I plead with us to give these invited guests to the opportunity and the air to bear their mind and give us the right information we need. We are not here to witch hunt anybody. We are here to lay claims and to speak to the documents. Like it says in law, recips loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. Facts will be speaking today. I thank you very much, honorable colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. And my honorable brothers in this committee. Chair, how come you are the only woman here? You suppressed other women.
That's why I'm pleading for everyone's support. Please. Because I'm a woman, I need all the support.
I wanted to say all my brothers and sisters in this committee, then I looked and you are the solo person. Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, sorry if I use Mr. I will use this medium again to thank you people for the opportunity to make my submission on what had happened at the NSITF. It's actually supposed to be a normal administrative disciplinary procedure of government by the executive. But the way it has been found, the embers of emotion and other subterranean issues have been attached to it. Madam Chair, I want to take you back a little bit. Don't get bored, because if you get to a preamble on any issue, it means that it will help you to know your route, the pathway to take. I was appointed minister in November 2015, and I had 5 parastatals, the NDE, NPC, That's a Nigerian National Productivity Center, IAP, Industrial Arbitration Panel, and Michael Imodu Institute, and the NSITF. Hardly have I settled down that news broke out that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had preliminarily uncovered monumental fraud involving the last chairman of that board, one Mrs. Ngige, with the two directors of the board who are old nominal position, who came from the Nigerian Employers Consultative Assembly, NECA, and another executive director, one Mr. Obua, and about 3 or 4 other general managers with the managing director as officials working full-time in the board, in the fund. So in April, when the federal government decided to dissolve all their federal board, this board was up because of the issues already raised. The EFCC had a watertight evidence through strenuous investigations. As a matter of fact, the EFCC, when they gave me their reports, they mounted an investigation through a whistleblower. And they discovered that there were unbridled breach of procurement processes and financial regulations that resulted in about 48 billion naira being illegally removed from the NSITF through numerous contractors for non-existent but executed jobs, which were only paperwork, only for the money to be recycled to these officials, and from these officials to the chairman and these other members. As I speak today, that chairman had forfeited 46 houses to the federal government through the FCC. Some GMs are refunded several millions, and some of those EDs have also done the same. So this was the situation I inherited. And of course, I decided not to keep quiet. I elected Mr. President, and we both decided that the FCC should give me an update and approve that I write the chairman of the FCC. I did that. I have the correspondence. And the FCC gave me a blow-by-blow report of how these monies were taken away. Each officer, each director, and ending up with the chairman. The chairman was a politician who also ran for election in Delta State. She ran for governorship. And with the dissolution of the board, an acting MD was appointed. And the fund became insolvent. They could not pay salaries as I went due. They were owing staff salaries and allowances. They were owing some genuine contractors who provided them essential services. I looked at the entire situation. I met with the acting MD and his officials, and I said to them, do we leave this organization to die? If we leave it to die, all of us have failed. I have never been known for failure in anything I do in my life. So we We sat down with them. Because there was no board anymore, I was acting as their board. We drew up a work plan and started advocacy to states, state governments, state officials, federal government agencies, and even the private sector. We were able, in under 6 months, to get the contributions of this agency up. This agency, they raise their money through contributions. 1% of workers' emolument. Workers in the public service and workers in the private sector. It's an insurance scheme. The workers are insured against accidents, disabilities, infirmity, disease condition, and even death arising in the course of work. We had to take this advocacy. Many people didn't know what ECA was saying. I left my office. I toured Lagos. I toured Port Harcourt. I toured Kano. I toured Kaduna. I toured Enugu. I went everywhere. The results were okay. I also got the Federal Executive Council because the then Federal Minister for Finance, Femi Adosho, told me the federal government cannot contribute anymore to this fund because the monies contributed are looted. I had to persuade FEC. My submission is given out. I'm sorry. It's given out. So you can follow me, but I will try to be faster now. So in 2017, the federal government decided to put up boards. Party members were worrying. The pressure was much, and you expect that anybody who had worked should be compensated. Ministers were told to make submissions. I made submission for 3 of my agencies. And on the SITF, I told this SGF I wrote that this is a professional board where the executive directors that government is permitted to put and the MD are supposed to be technocrats. He said I should put it down in writing. I did so. The only position which government could appoint, because government had 5 positions to appoint. 1, the chairman, 2, the managing director, chief executive, and 3 executive directors. The only position which government can appoint, without even going into looking at the qualification, cognitive experience, and the rest of them, was that of chairman. But a lot of things happened. The pressure was on. The committee overstepped and appointed both executive directors and managing director without going into the contents of my submission to the Secretary to Government of the Federation's office. When I tried to ask, I was told that these appointments were done as political office holders into those positions. And lo and behold, the letters of appointment came to me and said that these were political office holders. What is the implication? The implication is that, just like SSA Yakub here that left, just like me, minister. I'm a political office holder. Just like even you elected people. You're political office holders. We are going to be governed by the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. Condition of service for political office holders. It was well written in the letters of appointment that were submitted to my office. As the FCC stepped up their investigation, of course, when, I forgot to say, when this happened, the appointees came to see me as their minister. I told them, these are the papers I have. They also acquiesced to it, offer and acceptance. As the FCC stepped up their investigation, more lapses were discovered in the finance, accounts, audit, and procurement departments. And coupled with the fact that the NSATF had no audited accounts since 2013. In fact, 2012. I'm being told that they have done 2012, 2013, and that. So, but as I speak to you now, no audited account is in NSATF. Even though this was the first assignment I gave to these executive directors when they came to the ministry. And we kept on hammering on that in top management committee meetings because we meet with our parastatals every other month. When I discovered that this was the situation, I went to Mr. President with the EFCC report. Of course, EFCC are gone to court now. Some of the officers they charged to court were still working in NSITF. And by public service rules, they are not supposed to be there anymore. So we got them interdicted according to public service rules, and asked the Auditor General of the Federation to assist with what they call special periodic check. I think it's section 88 or so, when an organization doesn't have audited account. We asked for that, and we also asked the President to approve that we put a special inquiry into the financial affairs of the NSITF and other matters thereto. Essence being that we want to use the panel to strengthen the financial network of the place, because if the EFCC is already talking about weak system, the Auditor General's report came out and gave us more issues. That was in 2018. The administrative panel too finished their work in 2018. The two reports were presented. In fact, the administrative panel worked from the NSITF. And they submitted their reports. We asked the permanent secretary to put up an implementation committee and to forward both reports to the NSITF for their response. Because curiously, the report of the Auditor General started inducting these new executive directors who just started in 2017. And by that 2017, they have already committed some infractions. Some of these infractions were highlighted in this report, but we summarized it. We summarized it, this report. and we put them into your folders here. A lot of the reports talked about the audited accounts, 2012 to 2017, at that time, none. Non-submission of internal audit reports to the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, which is a twin brother of the organization submitting monthly returns to their parent ministry. There is breach of personal income tax under the doctrine of pay as you earn in the neighborhood of 1.446 billion, 8887, 16770. This resulted in the closure of NSITF offices, sealing of the offices in Port Harcourt, regional offices and all branches. In Owerri, it's another issue altogether. Issues like irregular payment of unapproved salaries, allowances to the MD and executive directors outside their condition of service in their letters of appointment as political office holders. The MD and the EDs got the NSITF. They jettisoned the political office holders' conditions of service. They don't like it. They said they saw a paper called the NSITF Condition of Service. And they went there and fixed the salaries there, allowances there, perks of office there for themselves. So whereas the minister, like me and you, my salaries are near your own, about 900 and something a month. No. My car loan is inside my own. My car vehicle allowance, even my housing. My own is everything, bubua. These NSITF EDs were earning humongous salary. They took housing loan instead of housing allowance, loan. Instead of normal 300% and whatever, they took what they say is for EDs there. About 10 million. They did not even come back to their minister. Because if they wanted to even give themselves a little safe landing, the NSITF Act, in section 45, says that where salaries of directors have not been fixed, the honorable minister can do so if no financial authority has fixed one. Is there? They pay themselves 28 days in hotel. No NSITF staff even takes that one. I don't know where they got that one from. They did unauthorized travels overseas for leave with their spouses and took 42 days extra code and rode first class. 9.8 million each for going on leave. 2017, we are looking at the 2018 spending. They have refused to submit those ones. Even if you're a public servant and you're traveling abroad for leave, the circular on that says that the minister will approve it, and the SGF will also approve. Why? Because if anything happens to you abroad, you are the responsibility of federal government of Nigeria as their staff. I didn't know. They also did foreign travels unauthorizedly for courses and for training. They did transfer of funds from capital expenditure without evidence of utilization. That's the finance and investments. They engaged external solicitors without obtaining clearance of Attorney General of the Federation. When I wrote them on it, they tell me that they wrote me back to say, Honorable Minister, you are interfering. We are self-funding. We can use our fund as we like. They wrote me back. What necessitated it was, there was a case they were handling. And it was that case that brought to my attention. Because the SGF forwarded the document to me, and I called the legal advisor of the ministry. I said, look at what I've been told, that we can settle out of court with this person and pay him his little dues. The legal advisor of the ministry said, you are right, Honorable Minister. We have circulars to that effect. For us to cut down government expenditure, for us to settle such matters out of court. It involved a former MD of the place. They wrote me back. They were not going to settle out of court. They are independent. Meanwhile, what this man will get if we go out of court will be in the neighborhood of about 60 million or thereabout. And you are paying a solicitor 180 million. 180 million. And you have the temerity to write back to your minister and say you want to observe. When I have a circular from Attorney General of the Federation saying that this is what we should be doing. There are issues of irregular award of contract for supply of two-number motor vehicles to NSITF, 146 million, procurement conversion of contract from supply of tuner to supply of Prado Jeep, procurement of motor vehicles not taken on ledger charge, 290 million, contract payment without evidence of performance, 151,389,021, consultancy services for processing and regularization of title deeds and survey plans at Era Village, Ijaniki-Bada Expressway, 120 million, contract execution without signed contract by both parties. That's what Dr. Jara raised and said. These were not controverted. I've put a copy for you people, but the big book is here. This is it didn't capture everything. I said that the interesting thing is that this Auditor General Special Periodic Check Report was treated with levity, especially in areas where the MD and the three executives have queries concerning them of payments not authorized by extant circulars and their conditions of service. We held top management committee meetings with our parastatals. When it's turn of NSITF, I will raise it. I had a permanent secretary who was in charge of the committee. She put everything, and to the NSITF, nothing was heard. The head of the administrative panel, one Mr. Wotu, a chartered accountant, was the director of finance and supply in the ministry. He took the administrative panel report there. The administrative panel report was a report that was just trying to help reinforce the system so that there will be no leakages anymore. Because how it come that 48 billion was taken away without vouchers and stuff? Something is inherently wrong. So I told President, we need to block the place. We need to assist the place to grow. If we have leakages, no matter any quantum of money you put there, you won't get it. You won't use it for anything beneficial. I'm not a slave driver. I have saved myself. Nigeria has been kind to me. But we need to protect others that are coming. 5,000 people are working in NSITF. There's a place called Nefond. They had 4,000 persons before they ran the place down and pushed 4,000 persons into the jobless market. I will not sit down there and watch. I can't. It's not in my nature. I come to this work with a lot of good background. I was in the Ministry of Health. I started work in 1980. I rose from level 9.5 for MO1s. I rose to become Deputy Director level 16 and acted as Director for about 6-7 months, level 17. I have battle with civil servants even in my ministry now because they wrote right nonsense. People are no longer dedicated to duties. They can put up a memo. And they're answering directors and deputy directors and assistant directors. And I say, no. You must be fair to this country. I'm fair to this country. I read all my education on scholarship. I didn't pay anything. I go and sit down there as minister. He said, oh, board didn't tell me. Board didn't. Which board? If board is sleeping, I'll sleep with them. Never. I supervise both the board and the executive. To make matters worse, madam, when they didn't respond to this, I was leaving because they waited for me to go. They said, oh, he's going, bye-bye to him. I did a handover note to whoever will be Minister of Labor and Employment, the new minister. And I said, these issues are outstanding. They must be addressed. And I passed it on to the new permanent secretary. Gave him all these reports, including Auditor General, everything, afresh. Afresh. When I left, our council was dissolved on 29 May. They were beating tambourine and everything in happiness and joy. To give themselves some barbecue for the occasion, they awarded 232 contracts. One day, 31st of May, 2 days after I left, 3-point-something billion, all broken down below 50 million, which is the threshold of the MD. The documents are there, I'll give you. 3-point-something billion, under 50 million, 47, 48, 46, 35. To circumscribe the Ministerial Tenders Board, circumscribe Federal Executive Council. I'm the only minister that have not brought any big memo that is above MTB to Federal Executive Council. Yet, NSITF, they sit down in one sitting, and give 32 million contracts. In under 4 or 5 months, they split training contracts to about 130 companies. Companies, about 6 of them, same name, being replicated. And utilized 2.3 billion. When I came back in 2019 August, a new Minister of Labor has come over. But his name is Senator Ngige again, no? What did they do? During budget defense into the National Assembly. You know, the National Assembly people are very wise people. I was one of the people here. They will tell you that, for your new budget, let us see what you did before. So for 2020 budget, National Assembly asked for 2019 performance. 2019 performance. Senator Ben Wajimogu and Honorable Woodil. Normally, parastatals defend their budget before their ministries and move. That 2019 budget was a budget that they wangled when we went for elections. You know, we started campaigns in 2018 into 2019. The budget even took time to come. So, in that budget, they had all sorts of things. Construction of buildings, regional headquarters, construction of this in Bauchi, in Ibadan. Ibadan has a building. In fact, Ibadan has one big building and one small one. They went and knocked one down. They want to build a new one. They want award contracts. They even came to Enugu, my zone. Enugu, my zone. And started building, they drew the plan, they became architects, drawing it, everything, and it's done. After all, the man is not coming back. So I asked them to bring this budget performance, come and defend their 2020 budget. They were dodging the ministry. We have an executive director of finance and investment who have never presented a budget to us in the ministry. He's the executive director, finance and investment. Never. Do you blame him? I don't blame him. You can't give what you don't have. You can't. He's neither an accountant, he's neither an economist, he's neither an insurance person, he's neither a business management person, he's not a marketer, no, he didn't do marketing, he did nothing in that direction. Qualification, politician. Member board of trustees of APC, my party, representing the youth. I'm not against youth growing, but I'm a very sensible person. If I were to find myself in that position, I will start learning. I will learn the rope. Madam Chair, I will learn the rope. You stoop to conquer. Madam Chair, when people in Anambra State are talking about the roads I constructed, I served in Federal Ministry of Works, 9 Mile Otubo Road. I served there. Before I went to the university, I did clerical work there for 9 months to save some money. And when the engineers are constructing the road, I go and be looking and asking them, this laterite, how many, this. And some of them will even come. Some businessmen will come. We want to tip, you know, our paper is for us to tip 100 trips. But if we agree with us, we can tip 40 and tip small, tip small, tip small. I said no. First, I entered university, second year. So I learned road construction. I became assistant director in charge of projects in Federal Ministry of Health, Hospital Services. We were building hospitals, the abandoned ones, ABU, Kano, UNTH Enugu. I was project director. I came there, I started learning again. So I do not see something that is wrong. I have seen people change their course. I have seen people who read sociology, and later on they become accountants. They do articleship and things like that and take the exams. But you dodge doing the work, you dodge it, and subsequently you go to the back, produce a budget the minister doesn't know about. This is what we suffer. So this 2019 budget that is executed, the utilization was what blew up the red flag.
Honourable Minister.
Yes, sir.
May I interject, please? Going by the rules of an investigative hearing in the Parliament,
yes.
If a witness is before the Parliament,
yes.
If he decides to speak off cuff, we'll give him he will be timed. If he decides to speak to the paper,
I'm speaking to my paper.
but we don't know where you are.
Oh, page 6.
Page 6.
Sorry. Page 6.
Thank you.
I've even gone to 7. Sorry about that.
Page 6, which paragraph, sir? Because you have a paper, and is there a paper that will guide us?
Last paragraph, to make matters worse, when I came back in 2019,
Thank you.
I am appointed as Minister of Labor and Employment. Right from 2020 budget defense and their 2019 budget performance, I realized that instead of making amends from their earlier Auditor General's report, matters have worsened. Therefore, I sought the help of the Auditor General of the Federation and the DG Public Procurement, as there was a bazaar of NSITF contract documents being hawked at Wuse and Maitama Abuja for prospective contractors on payment of 25% of contract paper value. Even though the MD and ED Finance and Investment dodged and did not present a well-articulated budget 2020, the 2019 performance budget utilization raised the red flags for all. Starting with the two committees of National Assembly, Labor and Employment and Productivity, auditors in my ministry. Meanwhile, the special periodic check of 2018 and 2019 have been undertaken by the auditors from the Auditor General Office, and this has raised even worse infractions than the earlier ones in 2012-2017. Immediately, these red flags were raised. I instructed them to halt all procurements for 2019 and payments of 2018-2019 that have not been done, pending a report of these checks, pending. I brought the situation immediately to the attention of Mr. President because the MD and the EDs, they claim they are all well-connected politicians. Well-connected. I agree that they are well-connected. But there's those that they are connected to. Send them into those places to do them, how do I say it? To do them glory. You know, I would be happy if I put somebody in a place and the minister sees me and says, ah, that's your boy. Very, very good. He knows this, he knows that, he knows that. That's what I expect. I have been putting people in places, even into this government, I have people in places. So, that they were connected, and as such, nothing will touch them. Hence, they ignored my directives. And during the COVID-19, they went on to start payments of all forms of phony contracts, some executed and some unexecuted. It's in the report of the Auditor General of the Federation. Meanwhile, the highlights of the 2018-2019 checks are: 1, extra budgetary expenditures as against approved estimate of 1,19,360,520.90 kobo. Payment of unapproved allowances again, 118,779,632.40. Payment for vouchers not presented for audit inspection, capital vouchers, 300,998,994.30. Payment of vouchers not posted to cash book, 884,701,789.72. Overspending on administrative expenses, contrary to the provisions of the ECS Act. That's I think that should be ECA, which allows only 5 to 25% contributions from the main contribution account. Irregular direct payment from ECA accounts, 1,476,690,76,000.78. This was not responded to satisfactorily to the auditors. A lot of this one I'm reading is to their attention, because somebody is asking queries. Were they brought to their notice and not to their notice? These are queries. Queries should not be only when a minister writes a query or a pansec writes a query. No. ECA contribution inflows 2.451 billion and outflows of these in bank statements not accounted for in the cash book. These are for accountants. ECA contributions inflows captured on cash book not found in the bank statement, 448 million. Illegal payment to National Health Insurance, despite the operation of the fund subsidiary. They have a fund, we have a fund subsidiary called Pro Health. They paid 570 million. They didn't go through NHIS to pay Pro Health. Irregularities in staff group assurance policy. That's what I was telling you. They were making payment that had no cover. In 2018, they will pay, in 2019, they will pay for payments of insurance for their workers' group life in 2019. But there is what do you call them? No premium, no cover. Policy of commission, insurance commission, NICOM. So this money is money dashed to those companies. And the auditors said the money should be recovered because they didn't cover anybody. Payee on payment vouchers different from payee on the mandate, different names. Auditors say it's an easy way to steal money. And it's an easy way to pay for jobs not done. Abnormal payment of medical expenses for staff that are covered under the health insurance. Why are you paying expenses again? Payment with regards to the economy. Again, engagement of solicitors without the approval of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, 33,475,000. And payment without approval of the Honorable Attorney General. I've talked about that before. I asked them. They say no, they cannot. International and local training without any evidential supporting documents, 96,621,000. Contract splitting, 4,889,32006 by Parastatal Tenders Board to avoid ministerial tenders board and fake scrutiny, fragmentation of the contracts, and same subjects, same items are noticed. Violation of e-payment policy, payment without authorization, PV without managing director's authorization, 605, 622, 448.82. Some people will come here and tell you, oh, we don't know why we are suspended. If you are in accounts, and in any way you are involved in paying this money, it's a serious financial infraction against financial regulation. It is. 605 million. You paid it. The authorizer, the MD's signature and things are not there. Who shared the money? Payment without relevant support documents, 966,622,231. Irregularities and word of payment.
Mr. Minister.
74. You have also club. They belong to clubs, so NSITF is paying for those clubs without evidence of utilization.
Honourable Minister,
yeah?
Honourable Minister, because there is some element of illegality in this issue.
Yes.
You are under oath, which means this document is tendered as an evidence.
Yes.
If you go back and correct this evidence, it becomes suspicious.
You say I should correct it?
No. If you go back to correct it, because some items are missing there. So what?
When I go to the actual major work of this committee, evidence indicating that the Honourable Minister took cognizance of SGF circular, dated 19 May 2020, and hence, I say that even that I made a submission to Mr. President even before the SGF circular. And because the SGF circular came about at the same time that I was getting a presidential approval to institute disciplinary action. And part of the disciplinary action is suspension. Especially when people start obstructing obstructing investigation. When I give you the document, you will see where the Auditor General said that they were obstructing and they were hiding documents from them.
Honorable Minister, please, sorry to interject you.
Yes.
I just want clarity on that last paragraph. You talked about suspension. So
Yes.
I want more clarity on that. That's the last paragraph.
Suspension is a public service procedure. It's a public service procedure by which you remove the person from office if you have established a prima facie infraction. You can also do interdiction. In interdiction, usually, is when a crime has been committed and the person is in court. Suspension can be authorized by the approving authority. In this case, Mr. President authorized it. But let me also even...
Minister, please.
Sorry?
If the President authorized it, we don't have a copy of the correspondence.
I will show you. I will show you today.
No, we need to have it.
No, you can't have it. It's a restricted document. It's here.
Thank God that...
No, look at it. Is it? I will show you.
Minister, Honorable Minister.
I will give you, I'll pass it around.
No, excuse me. You said you cannot give us. There is no document we cannot have here under the Constitution.
Okay.
No document is considered classified when it has to do with here. You were in the Senate before, and I'm sure you know that.
No problem. You know we have not come to that. That's why I'm saying this. But let me even, Honorable Member, go to, I'm not digressing, because this is a constitutional issue. If you go to section 169 of the Constitution, it establishes the civil service and public service of the Federation. You go to 170, it tells you how President can appoint people, including permanent secretaries and heads of a ministerial department. 171, also the same. It's an extrapolation where President can appoint his personal staff, special assistants to assist him, ambassadors, and others. All those sections, all acts drawable from them, tells you, including the NSITF Act, that the man who appoints can discipline, including removal, without recourse to anybody. So, I am a man of process. That's why I will not allow such a thing to happen. That is why I advocated that they be given a fair hearing in another panel. Some of the issues are serious misconduct. And the SGF circular that I'm told I'm breaching talks about serious misconduct. Is here. Serious misconduct. And if you read it well, I'm a civil servant, if you read it well, you will see that it's quoting you public service rules. Public service rules. That's where it involves permanent secretaries. For dismissal and removal and for suspension, look at it. Permanent secretaries are supposed to be advisors to their ministers in terms of administration and finance matters. That's why they are called accounting officers and chief administrative officers. That's what the import of this circular is. Because a lot of noise and hula baloo has been raised on this. Oh, SGF, it wasn't consulted. The board was. No! Look at it. It's for serious misconduct. Some of them will answer questions of serious misconduct, especially the civil servants or the staff among them. They are caught by public service rules. My other politician friends are caught by political office holders' maxim, where president can appoint, hire and fire. He appoints you based on my recommendation as minister. That's what is in the act. He can also fire you based on my recommendation again. He who hires can fire. But we are not firing anybody. We suspended people. Come and face a panel. Prove you are innocent. You will lose nothing. All your rights and everything will be restored. That is how due process and the public service operates. That's how it operates. If you come there and tender all your documents, fine. So I did get a presidential approval, which the chief of staff conveyed to me. I did also get an SGF approval. It demanded that I make submissions. By this letter, the SGF wrote me, no, that I make submission, this one. And I conformed. And then gave him all documents and report from my ministry on the misconduct.
Mr. Minister, can you pass it to us? Can we have that copy with us?
Conveyed Mr. President approval to all the recommendations submitted by my office in respect of these issues, bordering on financial procurement infraction and acts of serious misconduct, and refer to the guidance on implementation to a letter from the Chief of Staff, and further requested the Honorable Minister to avail his office with records of the implementation of Mr. President's approval, especially in the areas of personnel changes. Sorry, they wrote personnel changes. Page 10. Honorable Chairman and members of committee, you can see that the Honorable Minister even obtained, so to say, double approval on this issue. I'm a man of process. I decided that because the SGF circular has caught up with this, I wouldn't go ahead. Let me also pass through there. Chairman, I want you to sign this. And if you feel your members should, that the president's signature is there and it's not right. So if they can trust you and your man here, you cite it on their behalf.
What document is that?
This document is approval from the SGF and the Chief of Staff and President.
It could be escalated to be an allegation.
You can show Faleke, you can show Mr. Faleke, show him.
Under the Constitution,
yes,
there is no document on earth in Nigeria that the Parliament cannot ask for.
Okay, no problem.
And
let me ask.
We can even ask Mr. President
to
come and testify by himself.
Honorable Faleke, you are dead right. But I have a boss. I'm not disobedient like these people in the NSITF. I will go to my boss and get his approval.
There is what you call classified document, which you have to declassify them. Restricted document. Restriction means only to certain officers.
Good.
And under the sun, there is no document not available, would not be made available to the Parliament. You will sign it and put it on the votes and proceedings, and the votes and proceedings is a public document. Right to the Parliament on issues bordering security.
I agree.
So, Mr. Minister.
Yes.
Distinguished Senator.
Yeah. Yes.
I admire the way you have spoken. You have laid your point very, very well.
Yes.
And I'm happy. You said this investigation will be fair to these people.
I will speak to that.
Any element.
I will speak to that immediately now.
Any element of withholding document to this committee, it will give us some element of suspicion that this your panel will not be fair.